Thank you. We would like to know about the inner earth, please. And are there beings that live within the inner earth?
Oh yes, yes. There are many beings that live in our Earth, thousands and thousands. It is like a sort of inverted outer Earth, essentially. Um, these people went underground many years ago during the destruction of uh, um, the first major destruction of the outer planet while humans were there. So they went underground to set up their own civilizations while those left on the outer Earth perished. It is a sort of similar idea to the ascension. Those who were able to handle the magnificent energies of the inner Earth were able to enter and were given the entry points of the inner Earth. And the inner Earth is a very beautiful place. It is essentially uh, its own uh, Earth, essentially. It has its sun, it has weather, it has oceans, it has land masses, and the energies of the inner Earth are very strong and very bright and beautiful, and they are very high dimensional beings that live in the inner Earth.
Thank you. So, would you describe our planet then as being hollow with this inner earth structure?
Essentially, by what you mean by hollow, yes, we would call it hollow, but hollow would imply there was nothing within. There's just empty space, but this is not the case. Um, if you look at the Earth as a hologram, essentially, this is a matrix. It is an illusion, and therefore, how you perceive the Earth is not necessarily exactly what it is. So, the idea of the inner Earth in your mind would look something like if you cut the Earth in half, it would essentially have a circular ring, and in it would be essentially almost like what we have on the outer Earth, but inverted so that all the land masses are facing upside down. And this is not the case. It is sort of like uh, it is facing upwards. There's only one
Go
side.
ahead. Thank you. Thank you very much.
uh,
And how did the beings look in the inner earth? Are they humanoid or something else?
they are higher dimensional beings, so they do not look like humans, like you would imagine them to be. They are similar to the crystalline body that humans will have. It's that kind of idea. Uh, they are tall in stature, um, and they would have similar features to a human. So they're evolved humans essentially.
Thank you. And can you give me a sense of what dimension they reside at, please?
Yes, it's above the fifth dimension. It is like Atlanteans. Uh, it's like the greatest civilizations that ever existed here. It is from those times. and they reverted into the earth, so they would not be able, so that we humans could live on the outside of the earth in our dimension, and the inner earth people would be able to live in a separate dimension within this planet. But you must know, as humans, you have created the idea of third, fourth, fifth, sixth dimension. This is a human construct to explain on a very basic and limited level how the dimensions work. It's a nice tool, and it does have merit, and it is a good way to measure the periods of ascension, but it's not really exactly how it works. It's a very basic sort of map of what the reality of dimensions is.
Okay, thank you very much. And in terms of the event that's coming, the ascension in December, what is going to happen to the beings inside the inner earth?
The beings on the inside of the inner earth will help the people who are left on the old earth. Once the earth moves from this planet into her new body, the inner earth people will cleanse the outside of the earth, and they will move in and around the old earth people to help uh, the help with the ascension. They will help with the cleansing of the old earth, as the carcass, we'll say, of the old earth does need some work on it, and it has to be disposed of in a very careful way, otherwise it will have big impact on the rest of the solar system and onwards. So once the work has been done by the inner earth people, they will just simply ascend. It's similar to how we will be ascending in December. They will, in a very different but similar way, take the same journey.
Thank you so much. And so the people who are left on the old earth will be helped by the inner earth beings. And so they will have a different type of ascension.
The inner earth people or the old earth people?
The old earth people.
The old earth people will pass. They will end their lives on this planet, and they will go back to source and move on from there. But the all inner earth people do not want the old earth people to have the most terrible experience. There will be some guidance and help given to the old earth people energetically, just to help them cope with what is happening.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for letting us know that. And in terms of these labels, the broadcast, the event, and the awakening, this is all referring to the same thing, isn't it? The broadcast, which is the event, will awaken humanity. Is that correct?
The awakening has been going on for many years. The awakening is a long, drawn-out process, and the broadcast is just a step in the awakening. It is one of the final stages to help those that have not yet awakened. So it could be referred to as the awakening, because it is going to be this mass energetic awakening for the people on Earth. But the awakening, as it's referred to in many of the texts, and as channeled by many of the workers, it's referring to the awakening process in full.
Okay, thank you. And so would you say the last big step for the awakening is the event, the broadcast?
Not the last step. The last big step will be when the people see the extraterrestrials who help with the planet and who have helped with the ascension.
Mhm.
Will be the sort of last final straw for those who have not been able to awaken. And even for those who have awakened, it will just be that extra little push, because even the most awakened people on this planet will still have to process what they will see in a very big way, and that will shoot them into a projection of awakening and opening up and new belief.
Thank you. And so you're referring to what was also termed the Great Intimidation.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And in terms of the Great Intimidation, can you clarify that more for us today, please?
What will happen?
Yes, how will people perceive this event?
Yes, the people will start to see um, flying objects in the sky, and it will be unmistakably so. There will be many of them at the one time, and they will essentially sort of roar their horns, they will flash their lights, they will make their presence known in a very, very big way. However, when the intimidation happens, depending on the person's level of consciousness at the time, it will affect it will affect their reaction. So the lower your consciousness, the more of a drastic reaction you will have. It will instill violence. It will instill the fight or flight type of experience for many people who do not understand exactly what is happening. For those who have a greater level of consciousness, this will be very breathtaking and amazing and very scary at the same time, but there will be they will be more matched to the energy that they're seeing, and they will perceive in a different way with a higher perspective in mind. Then there are those in the middle who will be a part of sort of both parts of the consciousness, who will be scared and maybe fly off the handle a little bit, but will also understand in a small way that it is something, not that it is part of a bigger picture. But during this intimidation, as you're calling it, there will be energy beamed onto the earth that will quite quickly cause people to shift into a higher state of consciousness. Also, we should say that this will be a time when many will choose to exit the earth through some of the violence and accidents that will happen with the chaos and mob mentality.
Okay, thank you very much. You say have heard that in another session, so thank you. And while it's been labeled by a few people as the Great Intimidation, is there another name you would like it to be referred to as?
The greatest show on earth.
Okay, fantastic. And this is different from the actual broadcast?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to ask for times, but is there the distance and timing from people getting over the broadcast to the greatest show on earth? How long do people have to recuperate from each event?
With the broadcast, the energy that will be beamed onto the planet to help the people awaken, there will not need to be as much time as you think there should be for people to recover by the time they see the intimidation. It will sort of be, the intimidation will sort of be less shocking and surprising with what you know from the broadcast. Therefore, it will be chaotic, and people will be scared, as if they're saying, what more could possibly happen? What more could possibly happen? Uh, but that sort of that level of unexpectedness will not be as high as you think it is. So there will be approximately a month between. But this can change. It all depends on exactly what is needed at the time. But there
Fantastic.
must be time after the intimidation for people to um, heal and move forward and receive their upgrades before the shift.
Thank you. So are we to understand that the people who are taking their exit points with the greatest show on earth, are they not, do they not have the intention to ascend, and therefore they're going back to source?
Yes, it's just their time. They decided that that's how they're going to leave.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I understand. And are you able to give me more understanding about who, if there is a power play here and a struggle to stop us from seeing the broadcast, is it just the reptilians that want this to be delayed, or is there something else happening here?
The reptilians are tapping into a consciousness. They are not they are not the dark energy. They are tapping into the dark energy. So any species, any race or culture or community can tap into that energy. Um, that's why you see some of the reptilians who are tapping into the lighter, higher consciousness. And so it is not the reptilian conscious, the consciousness is not solely linked to the reptilians. It is just an energy that they're tapping into. So it is sort of the one consciousness, but there are different levels and people are tapping in different ways to it. If that makes sense. It's just the survival of the reptilians has led them to uh, eat into the darker, lower level consciousnesses, because that is just how they need to survive. If it was all love and light with the reptilians, they would not have been able to survive as a race, because um, they're quite a primitive. They have very primitive DNA, just like you see the animals or dinosaurs who were kind creatures, sensitive creatures, intelligent creatures who had to survive at the times with their level of consciousness. And that is simply what has happened with the reptilians. And some reptilians have chosen to access the lighter, higher consciousness, while most of them have chosen to tap into the darker consciousness.
Okay. Thank you. Very interesting. And what do you have to say about people telling humanity that all people, all beings on this planet have reptile DNA?
No, that's not the case. It's not the case at all.
Why would
And continue.
why would someone try to say that?
It's a fear-based narrative. Uh, it's it's a weird type of energy. It's coming from good. It's trying to awaken people and bring attention of the reptilians to the people. But um, the it is just how information gets manipulated, and the people who are trying to awaken the people on Earth are doing it in many ways. They're doing it in a fearful way, and they are spreading dramatic and untrue information. and it gets spread across the grapevine and Chinese whispers. It turns from one thing to another thing to another thing, and it gradually gets diluted over time, and that's why you're hearing this. There are many humans out there who have reptilian DNA, but it is not true that all humans have reptilian DNA. For instance, Andre has Pleiadian DNA, and you, Joanne, have Arcturian DNA in you. It's similar to that. You all have different DNA.
Okay, thank you very much. And if you had to guess a percentage of the, in quotation marks, humans that have the reptilian DNA, what percentage would you say overall?
It's a very small percentage, with under 10%, even less.
Okay, thank you so much. And is there such a thing as the Silver Legion?
The Silver Legend.
The Legion, Silver Legion.
Silver Legion. No, we don't know anything about a Silver Legion.
Okay, thank you so much. And in terms of people being upgraded with their crystalline bodies with med beds, how different is it going to be from the crystalline bodies they're going to have on the new Earth? Are you able to tell us the difference?
People will not be upgraded to their crystalline bodies with the medbeds. The medbeds are a device for healing energetically the body that you have. We don't know where you've heard this information about the medbeds giving you your crystalline body. This is not the case. The crystalline body happens in a very beautiful, organic, and natural way, and you do not need a medbed or technology to do this.
Okay. I've heard it in a session where they were going to upgrade the client's body to be crystalline based. They'd go onto a ship and have a med bed experience and then come back down to Earth.
This is not a medbed. It's lost in translation.
Okay.
The medbeds are a healing device for your 3D human bodies with light that will heal your body to how it's supposed to be in its most beautiful and truest form. The experience that this person and these people will have on the ship is a similar idea, where they will be healed with light and transformed into the crystalline bodies, but this is not the same as a medbed as you're referring to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, there was a bit of confusion there, but so the lightsabers, they will be upgraded into their crystalline bodies without the med beds, and then come back down to Earth for their mission. Is that correct?
Yes, also we'd like to advise you that to be upgraded to the crystalline bodies is actually not really correct, because you're not being upgraded to your crystalline body. Your crystalline body already exists in its truest and most beautiful form. You're merely extracting the crystalline body from the low dense body, if that makes sense. So it's technically an upgrade to your body in the sense that your crystalline body will be the most prominent part of this, but the crystalline body cannot be upgraded. It is already perfect in its truest form.
Yes, so our carbon-based bodies will be upgraded to our crystalline-based bodies.
Essentially, it's. I understand what you're saying. It's not so much of a change of the carbon-based body. It is an extraction from the carbon-based body. It's like turning dials up and down, if that makes sense. You turn in music, you turn the treble up and you turn the bass down.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And so when that change has happened, and people have had, now they're more crystalline based, volume, shall we say, is set on high, or whatever you've selected the crystalline base option. How will you notice the difference How will Andre notice the difference?
In himself.
Yes, will there be any physical differences?
Yes, there will be physical differences. He will look in the mirror and think, wow, God, I look good. Huh. I love how I look. I love my body. I love my beautiful face and my gorgeous eyes, and I can see my heart in my expression. I'm so powerful and beautiful and magical. So while he'll be looking at his carbon-based body, he will look at it in a totally different way with this totally new perspective. He will see the beauty of his carbon-based body and the beauty of life, and that is sort of how you'll notice the crystalline experience through the carbon-based body. You'll also feel taller as well. You won't be necessarily taller, but you'll feel taller. You'll feel 10 feet tall. And as you walk around, you'll see people for who they truly are at their very core. And the empathy will be amazing for their struggle, and you will want to help and guide and heal everyone. It's almost as you can imagine how you might feel if you were Jesus walking around, you know? That's the feeling. It's a very much an energetic feeling, more so than a physical change from the perspective of you on Earth, if that makes sense.
Okay. And so when people have that approach, that's how they're going to look the same to everyone, but then they're going to have a different mindset and approach to life. And that's how they're going to do their life-saving role.
It's very limiting to call it a mindset. It is very much a, a, a revealing of the truest essence. It's because you're not really working from the mind in that in that crystalline body. It's I we understand what you're saying, but it's very much so much more than that. It's the people will notice a change around the people around you will notice a change, and it's there will be an amazing presence felt that just simply cannot be explained. However, the reaction and awareness of the person in the crystalline body by the people in the 3, 4D, this will be depend on their level of consciousness, how they're able to receive the energy. So the perception will be different for everybody.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I think I'm getting more of a clarification of the terms here being used and the reality of it.
Yeah.
Um,
You also must know that just as you are doing right now, as you walk around with the light that is being beamed onto the earth, your beautiful ability to hold more light, you're not physically doing anything, but merely just walking down the street, you are healing and helping people. So this is similar also to how the crystalline body will work. It is the essentially the light body will be full, so the jug is now full of water and can hydrate so many more people than if it was only half full. And we'll call the light workers half full of water, and we'll call the rest of the people a quarter full. Um, as each person walks past another, you are more hydrated by the amount of water that you are able to drink from the jug.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that clarification. That's so exciting. And phew, um, okay, and so then I was wondering about then how will the body function differently? Will people notice it differently after that? So they'll feel differently about themselves. They will feel more positive and serene, and be able to be helping other people. And then what else will the body be experiencing?
There will be less need to eat. There will be this strange and sudden desire to feel the empty of the lower density experiences like food and water. The light body can eat if they want, but they will not want to eat. They will also not need to sleep for many, many hours, if at all. And this will be a strange experience to them. The light body does not get tired in the same way that the carbon-based body gets tired. But it does get tired. It does have to recharge itself and energize itself. This will be done with connection to the earth and connection to source, more so than sleeping and eating. And the light body will feel like it wants to be outside more than it wants to be inside. And it will relish in the rain, it will relish in the storms, it will also relish in the sun. It relishes in all of the beauty of the natural earth, if that's what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And just getting back to the sticky point of the med beds, when people have been profoundly healed with the med beds, that would just lead them so much more closer to tipping the scales more to their crystalline bodies. Is that correct?
Yes, the purpose of the ascension from 2012 was to get the body to a point where its next step was the crystalline body. So that is what's been happening over those very many years. We are in the final stages of it right now. Many people are going to be able to do the work themselves and receive the downloads and the light themselves up until the very end point where they will be able to be switched into their crystalline bodies. Some people are not able to do this. These people will be very sick. They may be very much in the lower density, but still um, on the path to awakening. So these are the people that will need the med beds to get their bodies to a point where they are sort of on par with everybody else. So people with HIV and AIDS, people with cancer, people with COPD, people with fibromyalgia, people with diabetes, people with epilepsy, people with schizophrenia, people, all these types of things that are holding back the full healing of the body.
Thank you so much. And for people who have smaller illnesses or discomforts, shall we say, they will be able to, with their minds, be able to heal themselves and release themselves as they go through their shadow work and their blocks.
It depends what you mean by smaller illnesses. Most of the illnesses that are being felt right now around the earth, by way of colds and body aches and things like this, they are merely ascension symptoms. A lot of people's symptoms for more serious ailments like sore back, knee problems, shoulder blade problems, these can be healed as the mind starts to release and let go of the emotions that have manifested into those ailments. Um, the med beds will be available to everybody, but the priority has to be those who need them the most. So if your problem is that you have a bad knee or a bad lower back pain, you still will be able to ascend your crystalline bodies because you can still hold more light with a bad knee. It's when the body is severely disabled with cancers and blood problems, that's when the med beds can sort of shoot them forward into a rapid state of healing.
Yes, thank you. And I was referring to the aches and pains of the body over the smaller issues. So sorry, I am not using my best words right now. So thank you for that fantastic clarification. I do really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about any other messages to the people listening before we go?
There must at this time be a certain element of surprise because that is part of your journey with what is going on. It's almost like your soul wants to remain somewhat in the dark with some of the information so that they can experience the shock and surprise and truth of what is to come, just like your fellow men and women on Earth. The reason that you have been led to this information is so that you can be just at that higher level of trust and awareness, so that when this all does take place, you will be able to assist those who are fully shocked and surprised by the information. You're just getting a little head up, um, but you still must uh, remain somewhat in the dark. This is why a lot of the information we cannot share with you. We have shared with you much of the biggest information, and much more would ruin what is meant to be experienced by these events, if that makes sense. There is more information that we can tell you, and that will be discovered over your next sessions just by basic questioning. But there has been many times where we have woke Andre up and where we have decided that the information is not right at this time. This is just your higher selves, your souls deciding not to totally find out everything because uh, this is such an incredible experience on this planet, and your souls want to be the giddy little kids at Christmas opening the Christmas presents. And while you may know what your brother or sister may have got for Christmas, you still don't know what you're getting for Christmas because that will ruin the surprise.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.